All right, Angie, we've gotten to the holiday portion of 2008 with November and December. A lot of people have families and company parties, and one of those awkward things can be, frankly, the wine tasting.
That is so true, Dave. So I met up with a winemaker, and he took me through the steps of how to taste wine properly. Check it out.
Some of the things that you really want to look at is how can you make a less expensive wine taste better? And that's really what I look at is on a white wine is typically people serve them too cold. They serve them, you know, they put them in an ice bucket. Well, that's too cold. It actually hides the bouquet or the smell, and that's 90% of all your senses.
Wow.
And the red, there's some things that you can do on a red, but let's go ahead and open this white.
Sure. Any techniques, any tips?
You know, simply, you know, if I wasn't on camera, I would have just pulled this whole thing off. But you know, essentially, I cut this off with part of the tool, was you're cutting off the top, and then you're basically just you're getting a firm grip and going right down through the center.
Okay.
A lot of people don't go deep enough into the cork, and therefore they split it. You see people going,
yeah.
Oh, you hear that, oh, that is they didn't go deep enough in the cork. And then essentially you're coming up and then pull it out.
You got to hear that noise.
You know, it's nice to hear the little pop.
Yeah.
You know it's been sealed. So let's go ahead and we'll put this in the O's. I'd love for you to take a smell of this.
Yes, okay, so let's run through how to smell and swirl.
Smell and swirl. Go ahead and, can you reach through there? Go ahead and grab it, and the main thing is I like to keep them down on the table when I'm swirling because otherwise you end up with it on your clothes. Now take a smell of it now. You see it starts to open up, and on the red wine, essentially what it's doing is it's spinning up the alcohol away from the fruit.
Okay.
So people call that legs. So you see it running down the sides, and that's the alcohol or the glycol spinning up on the sides and lets you go down after the fruit.
Okay.
And that's what you smell. And then when you're tasting, some of the stuff that you do, if you want to really have some fun with it, is you bring it into your mouth, and then you basically bring air across it. Huh. So I'll kind of show this. I suggest starting with white wine, not with red wine when you learn this, because you could dribble it down yourself.
Sounds like a hard technique. Oh.
And essentially what you're doing is on your tongue, you have taste up front, and then you have measuring on the back.
Okay.
So basically all that's doing on the back is acid, and you're tasting everything up front. So that's why people do that. So you see people going, what are they doing with that in their mouth?
Huh.
That's essentially what they're doing. They're letting it come across.
Okay, so we tried the white. Let's try the red.
Younger wines, you really want to pump air into them. And a lot of people disagree with me on this. A lot of the master sommeliers do this. They call it flash decanting. Huh. So essentially you're pouring in, and then you see the bubbles going into it?
Yeah.
You're pumping air into it.
Okay.
And because this isn't going to, I mean, one, I made it so I know it's not going to throw any sludge, which is a plus. But essentially, now you're pumping air into it, which gives it,
that's nice.
it lets the fruit come out.
That is very nice.
So, I mean, if I was, you know, as one of your reviewers, some of the things to really look at is good stemware. Make sure they don't smell like soap. So,
good point.
I mean, if they smell like soap, that you're smelling soap.
Yeah.
And soap is one of the bigger killer of wines.
Wow, yeah, that would distort the taste.
Well, it kills it. It breaks it down. So wine doesn't like heat. So if you have it sitting in your windowsill or in your car when it's warm, it's going to be gone in about 45 minutes. Red wine.
Wow.
Very temperamental.
Okay.
The other thing is decanting it. So if I'm having people over, like tonight, I'm having people over, I decanted 2 hours ahead. I just pulled it off and I poured off the top glass. So essentially now I have a surface level of air getting to it, so now it's starting to break down and open up because it just went in the bottle for 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
Okay, now if I leave it in here and then I put this in the fridge for about 20 minutes, now it brings it down to about 55 degrees is where we blended it at.
Right.
So now you're tasting it the way we did, and also if you're not a big red wine drinker, like most people say, well, it gives me a headache or I don't like it, it also softens the tannins, which gets you on that stuff that most people don't like.
Right.
So now this is this one is fun to, and we'll do it in the big stems, and you can really smell the difference. But the so now I have it in here, and I go ahead and smell it now.
Okay.
All right, now put your hand over it and put 2 fingers down at the bottom. This is how you really get it spinning, okay? All right. So now go ahead and put your hand over it, and I'll hold the table.
Yeah.
And now go ahead and smell it now. You see how it opens up the
Yeah.
bouquet? So that's essentially what you're doing. And now you can really see the legs pronounced because this is higher alcohol. This is running, let's see, this is running 14.5 and that was 13.5 alcohol.
Yeah, it's nice.
So now it starts to smooth out. So, you know, what we suggest is the easy things to do to make a cheaper bottle of wine taste better, or any bottle of wine taste better, decent stemware. They don't have to be Riedels. These are Riedels. You can buy them at Pottery Barn.
Yeah.
Off the internet. WineEnthusiast.com is a great one. If some of your viewers really want to get a cursory note, there's a great book out called Wine Avenger. And it's a short, easy read to kind of get behind the scenes and understand what you're doing.
It's wine tasting for dummies.
It's very similar. It's exactly it. But you know that bringing the temperature down on this and letting it breathe.
Yeah. All right, so I love your wines. Where can we buy them?
All the wines are accessible via the internet, johndrowvineyards.com, or walk in to any of your retailers and say Johndrow Vineyards, and they're ready, available to be ordered.
Nice,
So,
right here in the city.
Right here in the city, and most restaurants are going to be picking them up. And well, I think a lot of them already picked them up, and they should be in all the nicer restaurants.
Wonderful. Learning from an expert. Thank you.
You bet.
Well, Angie, that looked like a lot of fun. That place looked amazing.
It was. And I learned how to properly taste wine, but also how to select the correct wine to fit my palate.
Wine doesn't have to be scary after all.
That's true. See ya.